to have. But again, these jobs were focused on establishing a middle class where they could survive on their own without creating a lot of debt, right? It was those two things that I saw from the outside. And I was like, okay, why would this program be, dismantled? Like, what's going on? So what I'm scrolling through right now is I was just wanted to show you some of the career paths that they have. So career technical training programs, often called vocational programs, offered by Job Corps, vary by campus. So example careers included mechanics, auto mechanic, electrician, 911 dispatcher, dental assistant, corrections officer, cook, computer technician, like I was saying, a friend of mine went into that one, landscaper, or truck driver. So people could get their CDLs even through Job Corps. Again, these are a lot of these jobs listed are middle class jobs where people were making, I would say 50, 60,000, or maybe into the six figures, depending on the level they were going to. And a landscaper, that's an entrepreneurial job, right? Where you can actually start your own business and have people under you if you so chose to do that, right? A truck driver, same thing. You could be an independent truck driver working with different companies to deliver goods. You could do that and not have the college debt. It was definitely a way for individuals that needed that extra assistance, like I said, without getting into debt, but they were able to get into these jobs because they were, in essence, apprentices in a lot of these situations, right? So let's say for the electrician, for example, they did learn out of the books, but then they were able to job shadow other electricians and get to, put those put that training that on the job training into practice on work sites, right? So they actually got to be a part of, fixing damaged electrical wires in a building already built, or establishing new wires in, let's say, a brand new home. So these are things that helped people. So why now is it being, you know shut down? So I had to, go on some other, let's just say, sites to find out what is going on. So I went to the U.S. Department of Labor to kind of figure out like what's happening. So it says it pauses Job Corps Center operations. So I want to say, I'm not sure. I wanted to find the release date for you guys so you could see. Okay, so this was released on May 29th, or at least this is when the letter was put into effect. So a week ago, right? So it says the U.S. Department of Labor today announced it will begin a phased pause in operations at contractor-operated Job Corps centers nationwide, initiating an orderly transition for students, staff, and local communities. The decision follows an internal review of the program's outcome and structure and will be carried out in accordance with available funding. The statutory framework established under the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act and Congressional notification requirements. The pause of operations at all contractor operated Job Corps centers will occur by June 30th. As the transition begins, the department is collaborating with state and local workforce partners to assist current students in advancing their training and connecting them with education and employment opportunities. So, from what I've just read so far, they are transitioning these individuals. They're not leaving them high and dry. They are trying to figure this out. So, the department's decision aligns with the president's fiscal year 2026 budget proposal and reflects the administration's commitment to ensure federal workforce investments deliver meaningful results for both students and taxpayers. Now, Job Corps was created to help young adults build a pathway to a better life through education, training, and community, said Secretary Lori Chavez DeRemer. However, a startling number of serious incident reports and other in depth fiscal analysis reveal the program is no longer achieving the intended outcomes that students deserve. We remain committed to ensuring all participants are supported through this transition and connected with the resources they need to succeed as we evaluate the program's possibilities. The program has faced significant financial challenges under its current operating structure. In previous year, 2024, the program operated at $150 million deficit. So they were actually functioning in the red by $150 million. My whole question is, what happened to the money, right? Like, what's going on? Requiring the Biden administration to implement a pause in center operations to complete the program year. The deficit is projected to reach 213 million projected year 2025. So it's not getting any better, right? So it's one of those things. So what happened to the money, right? And why are these things occurring? So in April 2025, the department's Employment and Training Administration released the first ever Job Corps transparency report. Okay, so this was released by Job Corps. I just want everybody to know that this report, and I do have the report. I'm kind of a nerd, y'all. I pulled the Excel report because I was like, I want to see what this says. So, which analyzed the financial performance and operational cost of the most recently available metrics of program year 2023 and a summary of the overall findings. So, this is a summary of the overall findings. The average graduation rate, which is the WIOA definition, the workforce, I think I'd read it before. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't, but we'll get to that. So they had a graduation rate of 38.6%. So that's under 50%. So less than 50% of the individuals that come in are graduating. The average cost per year, and this is per student, is over $80,000, $80,284.65. Okay. So you've got an average, and that's the high to low, right? So at the most, it could be this, and at the least, it could be this, and the average is 80,000. Okay. And this is across the country. So the average total cost per graduate is 155,000. Post separation participants earn $16,695 annually on average. These babies are earning less than $20,000 a year. How are you a mechanic? How are you a nurse? First of all, because they had nursing up there, making less than $20,000 a year. Like, none of that makes sense. Like, the lowest average should be 40,000 for these kids coming out of this, for the jobs that they had listed that I showed you guys, that I found on Wikipedia. Sorry, I went off of that screen because, bandwidth. But so yeah. So again, that's the average salary. So maybe there are some people making closer to 50, 60, and maybe there are people making under 10. But that shouldn't be the goal of this program. Like, the goal should be, at baseline, people should be coming out of there making 50, 60, because I don't know who's living off of this. This is below the poverty line. So the total number of serious incident reports for program year 2023 was 14,913 infractions. So that could be anything from coming in the dorm room late, causing a disruption, whatever, but they broke them down. So inappropriate sexual behavior and assaults, there were 372 of those. Now, this is around the country. So this is an average around the country. I just want people to understand that. And acts of violence reported were over 1,700, breaches of safety and security over 1,100, reported drug use over 2,700, and hospital visits over 1,800. Now, this again was the summary of the report given by Job Corps. And I know everybody's like, okay, Shaq, why, Dr. Nichols, why are you emphasizing it? Before I go to the actual spreadsheet that Job Corps gave to the Department of Labor, I want to show you what Job Corps has to say. Corrections to false statement about Job Corps in recent media articles. There are many false or misleading statements about Job Corps in recent media coverage regarding U.S. Department of Labor decision to shutter Job Corps campuses. Below are corrections and additional context. So the first thing it says, false statement, Job Corps graduation rate is just 38.6%. So for transparency, the transparency report examines data from 2023 till June 2024. Current graduation rate is higher. Like other schools and colleges, enrollment and graduates rates were depressed by COVID-19 policies. Historically, Job Corps graduation rates have been above 60%. Again, this is what you sent them. How is it false if this is the information you sent them? I'm going to keep reading on, you guys. Under previous administrations, the Department of Labor began requiring students with a high school diploma to participate in remedial academic classrooms until they are college ready, regardless of whether that aligns with their career goals. This leads students to leave out of frustration and has caused a decline in graduation rates. So, because they basically raised the standards for people with a high school diploma to participate in remedial academic classrooms until they are college ready, right? So this means they quit because they didn't want to do better. That, to me, that doesn't make sense. Because if they're getting frustrated and they're walking away, then that means the curriculum may have been too difficult. We've been hearing about teachers walking away from the classroom. Teachers are walking away because they know that these students aren't learning and they're being paid to teach students not to learn. I know that sounds very strange to a lot of people, but yes, there have been on X especially, and even on YouTube, videos I've seen of teachers that are frustrated with the educational system that are walking away. And they're saying that a lot of these students are just being pushed through, even if they can't read and write. Now, for the past 20 years, children have not learned how to handwrite. Yeah, you heard me. 20 years, no one knows how to handwrite. These children can barely print their names or write legibly, okay? Legibly as adults. So if they cannot handwrite themselves, could they read the original Constitution? These are the questions that I have. Like, what's really going on? Oh, let's see. And South is saying Job Corps helped people in very difficult industries. Also, they did. And it's interesting, like I said, why they're pulling this right now. So another false statement that Job Corps is saying is that Job Corps costs as much as $155,600 per student. Job Corps costs less than $50,000 per enrollee, according to the Department of Labor's report. This is an increase from a report during the first Trump administration, which indicated the cost per enrollee was $34,301. The increase is due almost entirely to COVID restrictions on the number of students Job Corps is allowed to serve, some of which are still in place. Okay, so we're just gonna dump this at the feet of COVID. It's interesting. It's like, whenever there's something, it was COVID. Yep, COVID did it. That bad year. Interesting. Very, very interesting. Another false statement. Job Corps cost per graduate is higher than four-year colleges. So 49% of a four-year college students graduate within 4 years at an average cost of $38 to $70. That amounts to a cost per graduate of $312, $408. So 35% of community college students graduate within 3 years at an average cost of $11,000 per year, and that amounts to a cost grade of about $110,000. A report during the first Trump administration prior to COVID-19 policies reported Job Corps' average cost per graduate to be $57,312. I mean, that's not bad. But, again, this is your report, Job Corps. This is another false statement, is Job Corps is no longer achieving its intended outcomes. Job Corps graduates exceeded the wage goals set by the Department of Labor in previous year, 2023. So that's what they're saying. So I'm not going to get into everything, but what I wanted to show you is I wanted to actually show you the spreadsheet from Job Corps. This is their spreadsheet. And I went to the bottom because they were stating, some of this information sent by the Department of Labor was false. I'm like, okay, well then why is it in your spreadsheet? I hope you guys can see this. I'm trying to keep it so you can see the whole thing in a little bit of context, a little bit, but I'll read it for you. So it does say the WIOA graduation rate is 39%. So the Department of Labor said that it was 38.6%. So that's tracking, right? That's tracking. Like this is your report, Job Corps. This is your report. This is not the Department of Labor's report. These are the numbers you sent them. And you're saying the numbers that you sent them are false? But this is your report. I'm sorry. You sent it to them. And now you're crying outrage. It's weird. It's weird. I'm going to finish reading it. I don't want to belabor the point, but you guys know where I'm going. So I showed you the Department of Labor. I read through some of what Job Corps was saying was false. Media reports out there. This is their actual report. Now, the cost per graduate program wide traditional definition, right? It's $187,653. So that's their cost per graduate, right? Their cost per graduate program wide. The first one was traditional, and the next one was WIOA. I think that has to do with like workforce or something. Is 155,600. You said this number was false, but this is the number that you gave the Department of Labor. Like, what are you trying to say? Like, I need somebody to explain this out to me, because all they're doing is showing the numbers that you gave them. This is the report that you sent them. Seriously? It's maddening. Okay. Now it says average of top center cost per graduate calculates the average cost per graduate, excluding those who hold certificates but were expelled or separated for disciplinary reasons. Now this is just an average. So the top average is 529,000. Top 50, 329,000. And this is the cost per graduate. These are your numbers, Job Corps. These are your numbers. These are not from the Department of Labor. The Department of Labor didn't make it up and say, okay, this is what they're doing. You sent them this. They're just reporting what you sent them and you're upset about it. It's very strange. I just find it very odd because, see, it's not the children that have made the bad decision, it's the adults that have done this to the children. And it's horrible. Now, I had a question. So I, went to the internet. I said, what about Job Corps and LGBTQ? Because that is a thing. I was very curious. It says Job Corps, a program aimed at helping young adults gain education and training, has faced criticism regarding its treatment of LGBTQ individuals. Several posts on Reddit indicate that LGBTQ students often face bullying, misgendering, and lack of support, particularly in centers located in more conservative areas like North Carolina. However, some centers, such as the one in Albuquerque, which that would be New Mexico, have been described as more accepting. Now, here's where I have an issue. That shouldn't even be a thing at Job Corps. You're coming there to work to get a job. That should be the one place that's what you're doing. Everything else stays at home. Or don't go to Job Corps. This, how should I say, this indoctrination of privilege, because it is privilege. They aren't rights, they're privileges. Okay, because if they were actually tried, and there's going to be a lot of Supreme Court rulings behind this that are going to have to change, because these privileges that individuals have that they believe are rights are infringing upon the rights of other people because it's infringing upon their freedoms. And you can't put laws in place that do that. We have a 10th Amendment for a reason. So I just want to put that out there. But I wanted to see, I was like, okay, has there been any, I don't want to say favoritism, but has there been anything out there to be slightly disruptive? So I found this article by an individual who was at Job Corps. And it says, hello, everyone. It's been quite a while since I posted here, Reddit, but I feel like this needs to be said. A couple of weeks before coming to Job Corps, I researched all things on LGBTQ inclusion. And for the most part, what I read was good. But as soon as I got to Job Corps, it hit me quickly how bad the inclusion of the community really was. I am a pre-transition 23-year-old trans woman of color, and it's been rough trying to get them to help me get to and from my appointments. Okay, first of all, let's start with the privilege. No one has to accommodate anything for you, ever. You're coming there to learn skills to get a job or to become an entrepreneur, to be independent and take care of yourself. This is not a place to go to be dependent upon other people. That's what Job Corps isn't. Okay? Definitely the wrong mindset. Like, what are we doing here? But this is why I looked that up, because I was like, why are they losing money? I mean, Job Corps just celebrated 60 years. They just celebrated 60 years. So how in its 60-year time period is it falling off now? It's because of stuff like this. That's why. Yep, I'm going to place it right at the feet of this nonsense. And it is nonsense. It needs to stop. If you want to do this, it's your personal thing. It's not everybody else's responsibility. And I need that to be known, period. It says, I've been here for 2 months and I've never fought for something so hard in my life only to not get anywhere. Providing HRT is not the scope of basic health care. And I understand that, but I already have insurance and All I need is transportation, but they haven't even been trying to set up anything. And I honestly don't know if I can wait another 6 months to move and potentially have this same situation elsewhere, especially where I can start now. So I say this for those in the community. If you need something that can help you, that's not in the scope of basic health, do it before coming to Job Corps, or just don't come, because the program is bad and very judgmental to those in the community. Okay, so first of all, you're separating yourself as the community. I don't put that in big air quotes for everybody can see me, the community. Okay, your community is an ideology that is a religion. Okay, bottom line, it is a whole religion. And I need people to understand that. And people out there may be saying, what are you talking about? It's a religion. It's a religion because it's trying to be impressed upon you to believe something. And even if you don't want to, they are forcing you to. So it's even worse than regular religions out there. Nobody's forcing me to be an atheist, but there are atheists out there. I'm a Christian. I don't want to force anybody to be a Christian. It is your choice. It is free will. But when it comes to this community, you want to force everybody to believe things that are not true. A man cannot become a woman. A woman cannot become a man, period. That's where we're at. The answer is no. If you haven't heard it lately, you're going to hear it from me today. The answer is no. Because, see, I love you too much to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to coddle you that way. This needs to stop. And I do believe that this is part of the reason why Job Corps is falling apart, because they are capitulating to things like this. And if you don't think so, let me read you something. This is an FAQ for ensuring equal opportunity for transgender applicants and students. So I don't know if this came about before or after this individual, but this was 6 years ago. This, okay, I didn't see I was trying to find the date that this was put into place. It does not have a date, but I did, like I said, I did look this up. And I was just like, okay, well, this was put in place maybe after this individual had gone through Job Corps. So let's just say this was put in place after the fact. It's there. It says, how should a transgender student who goes by a name other than his or her legal name? Again, we only have two genders. That's it. And you can't swap it out. You are not an automaton. Stop that. Legal name, sign the enrollment application. Should student use their legal name or preferred name? Well, first of all, they should use their legal name, because that's probably on their birth certificate and their social security card. It's still a federally funded program. You have to use that information. So all students should sign official documents, including enrollment applications, with the student's legal name. Staff should note the student's preferred name on the application, and, with the permission of the student, their gender identity. See this? You see this? This is why it's closing. This is why the doors are shutting down. Oh yeah, I'm laying this at the feet of the community. Yeah, this is being destroyed because of you. Because it's been fine for over 50 years. But I'm pretty sure in the past 10 years, it was failing. And it was because of this. Our schools are failing because of this. Our babies can't learn how to read and write, but they know their pronouns. They can't do basic math, but they can tell you about a whole bunch of other things from books that are in the school. What are we doing? All this needs to stop. If you are going to Job Corps, you are going there to get a job. What you do after you leave Job Corps is your business. But it is not their responsibility to capitulate to a community, period. This is about education so that you can move forward as an adult and take care of yourself and be a contributing member to society. That's what it's about. Period. You don't have to go to Job Corps. Job Corps is a blessing to individuals so that they can be a part of the middle class without the debt. Okay? It is a blessing. It is not a right. And all of these things that have taken over our country like a bad virus, it needs to stop. Nobody wants to play this game with you guys anymore. And for those adults who have all but destroyed, and I mean really destroyed Job Corps, shame on you. Shame on you for wasting the money, because it wasn't the babies that did this. You did this. And you better fix it. Do what you need to do. But lying and saying that the Department of Labor and all the media, all the things they're saying isn't true, it's true. I showed you their transparency report. It was from them. All the U.S. Department of Labor did was report the numbers that was given to them from Job Corps. Stop lying. Whatever you've done and whatever you're doing, you better fix it. You better fix it, because this falls at your feet. All of you. All of you at the top in Job Corps, you're responsible for this, and you better fix it for these babies. You better fight tooth and nail. I better see you on the streets having meetings with senators. You need to do everything that you can to make sure that this program stays afloat. For those that don't want to go to college, like again, because they don't want the debt. Because is there going to be something to replace this? I don't see that conversation coming. It's going to just let it fall apart. So we have more individuals just kind of falling by the wayside. Really? I don't think so. I really don't think that is the right thing to do here. Now, I do have a video. Let me find it really quick. Thanks for hanging in there with me, guys. Good morning. I know I went on my tirade, went on my rant. I had to, but I wanted to share this video with you.
Clearly you have your set, but I do think that this is something important to talk. You're not the first person to bring it up, and you won't be the last, but this is an important thing to talk about, even if I'm not talking. And I'm not talking to you because I know you don't care about Americans, I know you don't care about people, and I know that your moral compass doesn't exist. So this isn't about you. You can respond if you want. It helped me boost the algorithm. Actually, please do continue to comment, but still using this comment as a platform. First off, I'd like to point out that the metrics that are used to measure Job Corps are fundamentally flawed. It's not Job Corps that has failed, it's the statistics that they are using. You can't measure a program meant for disadvantaged people who never made it into the system in the first place and measure their success based off of the system that failed them. And if you fail to look at it correctly, you will see success as failure, just like you're doing now. The people coming into Job Corps are disadvantaged people. They are LGBTQ people, they're non-white people, they're poor white people, they are disabled people, and so many more. Immigrants as well, which I know we don't like, but I like immigrants. Get in here, I don't fucking care. Get in this country, this is where they belong. Also, that $2 billion you're talking about is actually $1.7 billion. And even if it was $2 billion, let's talk about how much that actually is. In the U.S. federal budget, which is over $6 trillion, that is 0.02%. Not that you'd know that, because unlike me, you haven't read anything. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And it would be wonderful for the entire world if people like you would shut up, but they don't. So we're here talking. Feel free to scroll whenever you want. But let's talk about what success rate even means. So you have people who go into union trades, and then they apply for the union, and then, or they apply for whatever place that they want to go, and then they realize that the time between they graduate Job Corps and the time between that they get to that job, that they would be on trade for what they're studying here, and then they're like, okay, I'm going to need a job on the in-between. If you get that in-between job, it is marked as a failure. Let's talk about how whenever you get here in the first few months, you are drug tested, and if you don't pass that drug test, you get kicked out. That goes into the failed graduate rate. Let's talk about people who may move to another center, or who may find something else going on. People who have to go home to take care of their parents. All of that goes into that failed graduation rate. If you apply for your basic trade and you complete your basic trade, or you get your high school diploma or whatever, and you go into another trade but you don't finish that trade and you take with just the graduation certificate that you got beforehand, that's a failed graduation. With those tight metrics that obviously shouldn't be applied to the communities that Job Corps serve, of course the metrics are gonna look bad. But let's say that every single failure was truly an absolute failure and people just didn't put the ass work in. Who are you to say that the 3 million people that Job Corps has successfully served in its past 60 years are worth it? You never get to decide if somebody else's life or quality of life is worth it. That is never someone else's choice. That is always up to that person. And depriving an entire community, an entire country of its backbone, how dumb do you have to be? I hope you don't live in a house, because all the carpenters, where are they going to go? Once these guys are out, no one's replacing it. You got rid of the trade school. Same thing goes for if you live in an area that has trains. If you have food that's transported by trains, you have people who are truckers. You work in anything where it needs someone in an office running it, all your workers are dying. They're dying on the street. They're going to homeless shelters. They're not getting their education. And the people who support the closing of Job Corps are a part of the problem. You are a part of the problem if you are not actively supporting your American people.
Okay. So, some things I agree with, some things I didn't. I don't agree with highlighting people from the LGBTQ community, because I'm like, you're humans like everybody else, and you should not have special you should not have preferential treatment. Period. You shouldn't. You just should not. But what I did agree with what he was saying is like, yeah, the closing, it's going to be horrible, because all of those filler spaces that people have taken for granted, people probably don't realize a lot of those individuals were from Job Corps. Yeah. And so those are the things that we really have to remember and look at. And I do apologize. I thought about this last night. I want to apologize for my Christian listeners out there. I know there's sometimes I play videos and people do say curse words, and I do apologize for this. Sorry. I got to figure out like the little censor beep thing for videos. If anybody knows of any good ones, send it to me. I don't want to just, disrupt your day, disrupt your ears. But, at the end of all of this, and the reason why I brought it up first is because we really need to focus on reaching out to our congressmen, our state and local reps about this. Definitely reach out to the Department of Labor. I'm going to put the information up. This is a media contact, right? And her name is Courtney Perella. But definitely call 202-693-3670. And, if they can direct you to petition to keep Job Corps open, then do that. Now, I'm not trying to keep it open so they can continue to mismanage money. Absolutely not. I definitely think there needs to be an overhaul. And that's something that they are looking at doing, as I read initially in here. But a lot of times when people see, well, certain programs might be taken away and certain people might be affected, they just kind of throw it all out and say, okay, the program's completely going away. And that's not what this letter said. For those of us maybe just joining us, it says the pause of operations at all contractor-operated Job Corps centers will occur by June 30th. As the transition begins, the department is collaborating with state and local workforce partners to assist current students in advancing their training and connecting them with education and employment opportunities. So they're not leaving these people out in the cold. But here's the thing. We need to figure out if Job Corps itself is going to be able to survive. Like I said, we needed to survive. President Trump, if you're listening, President Trump's people, if you are listening, I plead with you, figure out what needs to be done. Put the right people in place if that is something that needs to happen. But please don't take away Job Corps, because you will devastate our country. I mean, you really will. this will be a devastating blow because we already have pulled trades out of the schools. We've already destroyed that lifeline of being able to work when you graduate from high school. Let's not continue to chip away at our middle class till there isn't one at all. So with that, we're